Good afternoon everyone, welcome back to Coomwood on a lovely autumn day, and thank you very much for the comments you've been giving some of these videos. And in answer to a question I've been asked quite a few times now, we're going to talk a little bit about a particular type of shot that Tiger Woods popularized X number of years ago, which is referred to as his stinger. And now pros have been hitting low drilling shots for decades now, but Tiger really sort of popularized that shot and made it a very, very potent weapon. And it's not everyone's sort of golf shot. And the reason I say that is you need very good technique, you need a lot of speed and a lot of power in order to create the sort of shot that we're talking about here. Essentially what we're looking at is creating a lower ball flight to control the ball in a headwind or through a crosswind. Today is nice and calm, so it's not the ideal situation to be playing the stinger shot. But as we get into winter, it's going to come into its own. Like I say, for a lot of mid and high handicap golfers, well, it might be a tough shot to go about. You might be better off rethinking. We'll talk about that another time. But for those who want to take on this shot, I want to explain to you how I go about producing a lower flighted shot in order to control its flight through the wind. Now, obviously Tiger is exceptional and he uses his own particular method to do it, and that requires, like I say, very good technique and a huge amount of strength in order to generate club head speed to hold the club head into a de-lofted position to keep the ball flight very low. What I've got here, I'm on the tee and I'm going to use a 3-wood. And the way I go about this shot, and that's probably the best way for me to explain is what I do to create a lower flying ball flight here, is contrary to what a lot of people do, I'm going to position the ball a little bit further back in my setup. Now immediately a lot of people will say, well, if you put it further back, you're going to steepen your angle attack, it creates more spin, it shoots the ball up into the air. Absolutely correct. But I counter that by a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to slightly de-loft the club face in my setup position by just rocking the club forward onto its leading edge slightly. So I've taken a lot of loft off the club face. As I do that, I don't reposition my hands on the club. I actually let my hands rotate as well as the club. That has put the back of my left hand into a much flatter and more neutral position. And that creates a flatter and more hooded position of club face and left wrist as I go into the backswing. So I've intentionally hooded the club face. I've closed it into my backswing. Now I need to be careful as I approach back into the ball that I don't release the club fully, because I can close the club face and I've hit some horrible, ugly, low flat hook down the left-hand side. So what I'm also going to do, as I've positioned myself in that way, I'm going to take the club back, flattening my left wrist to hood the club face. That will restrict my wrist hinge into the top of the backswing, which creates a shallower angle of attack, and this is one of the things I can counter the back ball position with now, because I'm going to attack a little bit more shallow. But I'm going to make sure I really drive into my left side and I can hold the club face square through impact, not release it through impact. That's going to keep the club shallow through impact, it'll keep the club face squarer, and it keeps the loft off the club face to drive the ball low through the wind. Fair bit to think about there, and it's something you do need to practice if you're going to take on this shot. So let's just recap from a normal setup position where I will be here with my 3-wood, everything neutral, the club is sitting flat on the ground, ball position in that forward position. I've now put the ball position further back. I rotate the club face and my hands over to hood the club face in. I'm now going to extend the club back flat and wide away from the golf ball to get as much shallow width into the backswing as possible. And then I'm going to produce that action with my left wrist as I drive through the golf ball, holding the club face through and keep the ball down a little bit lower. Let's just knock one out there and just see what ball flight we get on this. Ball position a little further back. And it flies out good and low, and that's going to chase on a little bit. Bit of a specialist shot, it's not for everyone, but if you want to give that a go, practice with it and let me know. Good luck.